This is the Bears Barroom Radio Network. Parental discretion is advised.
There are so many streaming TV series.
So many channels.
I have a stream.
I just don't know which one to watch.
Is this show worth our time?
I have a stream.
I'm 3 seasons behind already. Is it even worth catching up?
I have a stream.
What's the series about? Well, my wife liked it too.
I have a stream.
What channel is it on? And who's in it?
I have a stream.
I want to watch something new, something original.
I have a stream.
I want to watch something that's action-packed.
I have a stream.
What's happening, Barflies? The show is going to be action-packed. Bobby Bombs. Hey, this is I Have a Stream on Bears Barroom Radio Network. This is John Santucci. Call me Tooch. We're going to be talking Euphoria on HBO, the crazy new series, Joe. And Joey Two Scoops is with me. Joe!
I'm here. What's going on, buddy? Lots of ding-dongs.
Oh my gosh, the the DPE number increases, Joe. Dicks per episode. But let's I'm getting a little thirsty, Joe. It's bring in that bartender.
Oh yeah. You know what the metal means. You know that means our man is here. We got Aaron Michalski in the house. Aaron, how you doing, bud?
Sir. I am doing great. A little bit too much dong in my day. I just got done watching the Euphoria to catch up, but you know the Dex per episode thing keeps going up. It seems like every time.
Aaron, how you doing, bud?
Not too bad, though, gentlemen. How are you guys?
Oh, we're doing great, man. We're glad to have you back. And I
happy to
have
be
a
here.
stream.
Absolutely, yes, sir. So while I'm here, what are we drinking?
I'm going to have my usual, Aaron.
Well, before Tooch orders his drink,
Oh.
Aaron, there was a special incident that happened last week before the show, wasn't there?
There was, yep, a public service announcement from John Santucci coming up.
So here it is.
Joey, I got no rock for my bourbon. Jesus.
You hear Tooch yelling at his son because he doesn't have any rocks for his bourbon?
That sounds like an issue.
Banned from my household.
I have that. I could use that drop in the future.
Shit. One of my sons or one of my
I can-
dumbass friends fucking put the ice cube tray back in the freezer with nothing in it. Empty ice cube tray.
Come on.
Banned,
Got no rocks for my bourbon.
but banned from my household. It was him or one of his friends, he said. I'm like, Jesus, how can you put a fucking empty ice cube tray back in the freezer? You know?
Oh, yeah.
That's just wrong. Nobody... it's pointless. What good does an empty frickin' ice cube tray do in the freezer?
There's Tooch's words of wisdom, everybody.
And the answer is it doesn't do you any good. The public service announcement. Be sure to fill your ice tray, ladies and gentlemen.
My wife telling me to drink less. Hilarious.
The wonders of capturing pre-show audio.
Exactly.
Yep. Stick to the tape. So now that we got the ice cubes ready for you, what are you having, Tooch?
My usual bourbon on the rocks, 2 fingers, 2 rocks.
Sounds good to me. How about you, Two Scoops? What are we drinking?
Oh, I'm going to change things up a little bit. I think I'm going to do a vodka soda this time. It sounds good.
Right on. Okay, that sounds good. We'll get you some of that. Not a problem.
That sounds so good. I'm going to get drunk during this show, guys.
You might need to wash out some of the stuff you saw in Euphoria. So
yeah, man.
I'm not blaming you there.
Try and forget. Aaron, help yourself to a drink. Aldo they said drinks are on the house tonight.
We are gonna do Sam Adams Cherry Wise. You ever had that one?
Oh, there you go.
I'm a big Weiss
That
beer
one's a
fan, I
good
tell
one.
you. In
No,
the summertime,
that one's a good one. Yep.
you finish cutting the grass, come in, drink one of those Radlers or Weiss beers.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I think I could beat Stafford or Trubisky's record of slamming a beer.
Well, we know you can beat Aaron Rodgers', so that's not a problem.
Yeah, no problem. Well, Joe, let's get right down to some Euphoria, bring in our first guest, and welcome him barroom style.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know him as the platinum-piped voice of Bears Barroom. But little did you know, when it comes to lovemaking, this guy is known as the man who unites nations. This guy knows more about Chicago Bears football and television than Jason La Canfora does about being wrong all the time. Everyone, get out of your seats, especially all the ladies, and give it up for me? Seriously, for me! I'm Dan Aguire. And don't forget to hit me up on Twitter, ladies.
Dan Aguire.
Dan Aguire. I'm shouting you out.
Great guy.
That's right, Barflies. The Golden Pipes are here. Dan Aguire is in the house. Dan, how you doing, my friend?
I'm feeling exceptionally large in the dick area. I'm always 6'5", but my God, that guy's cock last night on Euphoria.
Man, that was a broad gamut of dick size show. Last night's episode.
I'll just make sure if I ever send my dick to an unsuspecting woman, I'll make sure my fingernails are properly clean.
There's no swords in the background.
No swords.
Terrifying.
Okay,
Terrifying.
well, sword, but
that was exactly what I was going to talk about. Was Rue and Jules' little educational classroom film on dick pics. That was so excellent, man. It was so good. Danny, what'd you think of their little educational film, classroom film?
I needed that education because I was married and with the same woman for so long. So I had no use to send, had no motive to send other dick pics, and maybe now I do. So I need to make sure. Then again, I have so much confidence now because of that other guy that I'm going to send my towering penis to unsuspecting women all over the place.
That was a great part, man. That great segment with the it was so good, so well done, Joe.
Yeah.
The rules of sending dick pics by Rue and Jules was clicking the slides. The slideshow. It was a slideshow. We got a lot of pictures of dick pics, proper and improper. So, but
make sure you have no dirty laundry. They were analyzing the guy's cleanliness too. So
right.
Yeah.
The girls are very big on having a clean, hygienic bedroom or hygienic fingernails even.
There you go.
So if you haven't seen this episode, boy, check it out. Especially the slideshow that Rue and Jules give. But Joe, last week we talked about how you talked about how we might get more of Kat character. We got a lot of background on Kat, and what a great
sure did.
The beginning was hilarious, man. Where she's on Sandals Resort in Jamaica. You want to tell us a little bit about that segment?
Yeah, so it pretty much cuts back to when she was, I don't know, if I had to guess, she's probably between 9 and 10 years old, something like that. Anyway,
yeah, I think she was 11.
She's got some boyfriend in school, like first boyfriend. Her and her family go on some vacation to the Bahamas or some resort, whatever it is, and it basically highlights how she loved virgin pina coladas. She goes to town, and over the course of the trip, maybe a week or so, she had like 72 of them. Long story short, she comes back. She put on like 20 pounds as a young little girl. And, of course, the first day back, her boyfriend breaks up with her via a note in class. And it just kind of puts things into perspective and kind of sets the episode rolling along.
The note was hilarious, too. It was like, I'm breaking up with you. Love Dan or John, whatever his name was. Love John or something. Yep. It was hilarious.
Yes. I thought that was kind of an interesting touch myself.
Oh, my gosh. That was so funny. And then, of course, She put on, like Joe said, 20 extra pounds. None of her clothes fit when she got back. She drank 72 virgin coladas in Jamaica, and had a jellyfish strapped to her leg. Damn, you remember her flopping around in the water? She never went back again.
Oh, you coming to me on that? My bad. I didn't know if you were talking about Daniel, the character that broke up with her there as well.
Was that his name? Was it Dan?
Was his name Dan? It was Dan. Okay.
It was Daniel, which
I
is
thought it was Dan.
So. By the way, I was hoping to get a drink too. What the fuck, man?
Oh shit.
No, my bad. Bartender dropping the ball, Dan. What do you have, sir?
My fault.
I drank beer last night, so I better stay with that. I don't want to be hungover. How about some Rolling Rock?
All right, we'll get to some of that. Not a problem.
There you go.
Tastes like America. Speaking of America, happy birthday, America.
You bet.
Happy Canada Day. Did you see the Blue Jays had on some horrific red jerseys today that's not a shot at anybody specific. I'm just today is Canada Day apparently. So.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, they had the Canadian flag on the Blue Jays batting helmet. But anyway, that's going into sports. Let's talk about
Right. The barkeeper is in the chat room, and he's happy we're talking dicks.
Well, no one's got a bigger dick than Aldo.
Yeah. So we get our little background on Kat. She's a larger gal. Still attractive, man. When she after she finds her cash pig, she gets dolled up and gets some heads turning, man. I tell you.
I love the fishnets when she.
Yeah,
man.
That was working for me, Dan. The fishnets, of course. Dan, last week we were talking about who the target audience of Euphoria is, because it's a show about high schoolers, and it's a show that high schoolers should probably not watch, but they're probably going through a lot of the same stuff that the kids in this show are going through. And I don't know. Do you think high schoolers should be watching this show? I mean, it really pushes the envelope. It probably should be rated X. What do you think?
I can't recall properly off the top of my head which one of you. I did listen to last week's podcast.
Right.
I don't recall which one of you said it, but I do think that we are the target audience. I'm going to be 39 this year. I think the target audience is us, not the kids in high school. They don't give a shit about the show. I think it's just for us so we can fret on these millennials are just fucked in the head. Like, what's going on? I think this is all for adults.
Yeah. Dirty old men like me and Aldo, probably, and 30-somethings probably. But for me, if this is what high school kids' life is like in the digital age, it really shines a light on. We'll talk about the scene where Kat gets her cash cow, and it really shines a light on the digital age and the degeneracy of porn in America, for certain. And let's just talk about the particular scene where Kat is making Bitcoin by selling her videos and finds a man who wants to see her feet. Right, so she's taking pictures of her feet. We've got foot fetish. I don't know. I don't think it was Buddy Ryan, but
Rex Ryan.
Rex Ryan. Sorry, Rex Ryan.
That'd be even funnier if it was Buddy Ryan.
I meant Rex Ryan, but yeah, I don't think it was Rex Ryan. But we've talked about this pre-show. Aaron, what is the casting call for the Kat's number one fan?
And I was actually, during that scene, I was like, how the hell do you audition for this? Were there other people competing for the littlest dong, or like the weirdest looking dude that you could possibly get? Like, how did they find that guy?
I gotta tell you, the guy did a good job. I don't know what his name is. I don't care what his name is.
Very convincing. I mean, I don't want anything to do with him ever again. But it was like,
do you tell your agent? Do you tell your agent, like, hey, really, I've got an exceptionally small penis. Get me this one.
This one part. Boy, do I have the part for you? Like that's the part for. They found the guy that played it well.
Man, must have micro penis and be willing to masturbate on camera. That was my
Hit hard and masturbate on camera.
Imagine if you walked into that casting call, you didn't know what it was about. You get back and fire your agents. Shit.
Would hope so.
I can only hope that man was not erect at the time that we saw him on the camera.
I mean, kind of seemed like what they were getting at, but I don't know. I didn't pay that close attention to it.
Well, I tell you one thing, guys. I watched maybe about 10 seconds of that scene, and then I pulled my shirt up over my face because I had enough.
Mm-hmm.
My wife was with me, and she was like, "What the hell is this?"
I'm sure. Yeah, this episode I actually watched without my girlfriend. I kept like looking around the corner. I'm like, "Oh, if she walks in right now, this is going to be the weirdest."
I was trying to explain. Well, the show really does push the envelope, honey.
Mm-hmm.
It is the pushingest, envelopiest show out there.
Dude, that's no joke. I mean, every week we come on and we talk about like, oh, it's a little bit edgier, and it just seems like every single time they manage to just nudge it a little bit farther to a point where like I never thought I'd see something like this on a program.
Yeah, it's boundary porn. I mean, this is
yeah.
Kat is on Pornhub or something selling her videos, you know, and like this is a normal part of high school life. I don't know if it is or not. I've asked my son. He's been cagey about it. So
well, I'm sure the porn is, but how involved he is, I guess, would be the question that you have to worry about.
For certain, maybe Euphoria is just, you know, being honest that porn is a big part of Americans' lives, you know.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, especially as teenagers, you know, that's probably. I mean,
it's
just speaking from experience. I was a teenager once, and
yeah,
it kind of made a difference, you know. But
shit,
yeah,
when I was a teenager, we had to wait for someone to throw their Playboys out in the garbage. You get a Playboy garbage score, like old '60s black and white.
I got lost where you said cagey. It made me think of Rich Eisen doing the NFL Network highlights and always referring to he always referred to Dick Duran as the cagey Chicago Bears head coach. Dick Duran.
It's not my show, but I'm on that show, right?
Dick Duran and the Euphoria penises. What do they have in common?
Shit. Yeah. So, Joe, I want to ask you. When Kat decides she's going to go, I mean, what was funny about the scene was that she was like surprised. She's like, "You want me to make fun of you?" You know? He's like, "Yes, I love it. Oh my God, humiliate me." And,
that's how I felt too. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got to think about it. She's what, 16 years old, 17 years old. She doesn't know. This is like a whole new world for her. So she starts to figure it out and. Gets him to send $100 every time he's bad, but he sends her Bitcoin. Joe, do you remember who she goes to see? Because she knows jack shit about Bitcoin.
Yeah, I can't think of the little drug dealer kid's name.
His name's Ashtray.
Yeah, Ashtray. He's like, I don't know, what is he, 12 years old, and he's like some drug dealer genius kid.
Yeah, I have no idea. I wanted to ask Dan, are Ashtray and Fez brothers? Are they related, siblings? I mean,
I got the impression that he's learned the ropes, so to speak, from Fesco, and that they are siblings. I mentioned this before we went on the air. I think Fesco's adaptation of this character is spot on because I've met like 20 guys just like that, appropriating African American culture into their drug dealing presentation.
Oh, jeez.
He is so dead on. That's the way white guys really try to speak when they're doing that, which is embarrassing.
Right. Yeah.
The character's great.
I love the character. Authentic. But is it some kind of convenience store where they kind of hold court and with the house in the background, like a convenience store in the front of their house? Aaron, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it looked like it when right? Kat's talking to Ashtray. You could see the line of cigarettes that you'd expect to see behind like a gas station counter, and then it looked like she was leaning on a cooler. So I mean, that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting as they live right next to it, or if it's part of it, I don't know. But there's definitely a convenience store and everything there.
Right, and there is before we get to Nate and Jules, which was the other half of the show, you had Kat juxtaposed with Nate and Jules and Rue, actually. And I got to tell you, Dan, when I was watching this episode and I was watching the interaction between Rue and Jules, before the scene happened, I said to myself, I think Rue is falling in love with Jules. Did you get that sense too, Dan?
Yeah, you all. I think one of you said that last week too, in terms of where you thought the character may go.
Yep.
And earlier in the show, this episode made you look when she was wanting the softcore porn pictures taken by Rue of her being Jules, pronouns.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
She says something like, "Do you think I look hot? Would you fuck me or whatever?" And she's like, "Do you mean me or do you mean shot guy, whatever the fuck?" So I got the impression that she thought of it then and was like, "Well, yeah." So yeah, I kind of thought, I didn't know if it was going to be that sudden, but I got the impression that because she's always saying things like, "I don't know, I've never met anyone like Jules before." So I got the impression that she was, definitely falling in love with her to a certain extent.
Right, because she says, Jules is the kindest person she's ever met, the most genuine person she's ever met, and you kind of get the sense that she's falling for her best friend. Whatever sort of relationship they have, we'll have to find out the rest of the season how that's going to go. But
if you don't mind me saying one more thing, because I wasn't here on the review of the first 2 episodes. Now that we have this context, we found out the second episode at the conclusion that Shy Guy 318 or whatever the numbers are is actually the football player. What's his name? Nate. It's actually Nate. But they had the altercation in the first episode. So it made me think at the time when he made a comment to her before she cut herself, like he said something, if you recall, like, do you think you can just sit here and chill looking like that? And maybe that was immediately he was attracted to her, but he didn't know how to convey that given that there was a crowd of people there and he's got to be in the closet. But did you remember him saying that? He said when he confronted her, she said, I'm just trying to drink, just trying to hang out, chill, whatever. He said, you can't look like that and chill.
Right.
And not want attention. So he immediately, I think, knew that she, was transitioning. I think he immediately, he liked her from the start, Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah, because the way they met was a bit, Jules does not know that Nate is Shy Guy 118 Tyler, right?
Right.
Okay.
But in the episode, though, there's a couple of times when they showed the cameras on both of them, they brushed shoulders and they both kind of looked back at each other. There's a part after that where they're in the classroom and he's looking at her. So I'm kind of wondering if he does know that it's her.
Oh, he knows. He knows.
Oh, yeah.
He knows. He doesn't know. He's looking, looking at her as she's texting.
Yeah.
On her phone, he's watching her do it. He definitely knows that's her.
Okay.
Oh yeah, he knows it's her. He knows it's her from the picture. She's the only person that looks like Sailor Moon, right? He's the only person in the area that looks like Sailor Moon. But this is the big question I took away from the show, and that is, does Nate intend Jules harm? What do you think, Danny?
Boy, I think it could go either way. I think if they have whatever their sex scene goes, if she doesn't overreact when she recognizes who he is and they actually do something, but she wants more and wants it to go public, he could get violent because he's going to want to fuck her and fuck Maddie as well and doesn't want anybody to think that he's gay. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Part of me feels that, especially with the lake rendezvous that Rue is worried about, Tyler/Nate Shy Guy 118 asks her to meet him after the carnival at lake, probably isolated spot. And I just wonder if he, is going to beat the shit out of her. I
think it's just to be on the down low. He wants to have sex with her, but again, he has this macho, I'm the quarterback and I cannot be a homosexual.
For sure.
He's worried about his image more than anything. And I'm not advocating that homosexuality is any less or anything like that.
Of course.
But his character certainly is ashamed of it.
Yeah. I mean, that's coming to a boil, the relationship. But it seems that Jewel really loves Tyler. She's in love with the fiction, Aaron. Do you think Jules is in love with the idea of a jock who's turning to play for the other team?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, which one thing we were wondering about an episode or two ago, too. We're like, God, there's something there. We think she's transitioning. So finally, that was kind of nice that they came out and said it. But I think maybe to her, seeing or in her head this person that she's envisioning being so open with her and kind of helping them turn the corner probably is a pretty big turnoff for her, I'd imagine, especially being a jock and her being on the outside. Probably bringing somebody from the inside to the outside where she is would be pretty comforting, I would think.
Joe, what do you think? Is Jules gonna be? Is Jules destined for heartbreak?
Yeah, I think so, and I seem to think that she's gonna get beat up pretty good. That's just the vibe I'm getting, and
seriously?
maybe to the point where she even gets killed, and there's some sort of big tragedy here, kind of unfolding a mystery.
Really?
I hope I'm wrong, but that's the kind of the vibe that I'm getting from it.
Well, the abandoned lake, did cross my mind. What do you got, Danny? What do you think?
I think the violence isn't going to happen, and this is why. Because Maddie's already onto the fact that he's watching gay porn and has dicks on his phone. So I think she's going to sort of be in the area trying to figure out what he's doing. She's already saying, like, who's texting you? So she's pretty suspicious of it. So she's going to blow the lid, no pun intended, blow the lid on his sexuality as the season goes on, in my opinion. Hey, last point. I wanted to say this too. Do you think that this is somehow based on the Manti Te'o? Do you think that's where the
whole catfishing thing?
The catfish.
Oh, wow.
It's something too that I imagine is probably pretty prevalent in the teenage world in the digital age. You think about, even when I was younger, there's 2-3 times where fortunately I caught on to it, but everybody hides behind this online image. You got your real life self and your online self. So how many younger individuals are getting caught by this kind of a thing is a really good question, and they're probably trying to push that narrative.
Great point. Yeah, that's the show really deals with the online persona, and it shows it to us, without any filter, and it is very controversial show, man. It's given us a lot of material, Joe.
It's given us tons of material, guys, and talk about a show that's just opening up the conversation about so many different things, not only addiction, but, coming out of the closet, sexual preference, hiding behind depression. I mean, this show has touched on
drug
so many
addiction,
different...
porn addiction, sex addiction. Yeah,
transitioning for the younger individuals too. It seems like that's a big thing.
It's almost overwhelming for a viewer to consider teens in these situations, but how far from reality is it is a question that I ask myself after every show.
Yeah.
The part that really stood out to me is being
honest.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm stepping on somebody. I apologize.
Oh, no, you're okay. I was just saying you figured the odds are this is probably somebody's real life. But, of course, just like any kind of war based on a true story, they're going to dramatize it to make a certain point or to kind of to make it edgy, to make us obviously make entire podcasts dedicated to a show and do multiple episodes on it.
I was just going to say the one thing that seems inauthentic to me is that, at least I know in the neighborhood I'm in, if the music gets cranked up to a certain level, the police are there. And that's not a shot at the law enforcement. I'm just saying, like the party in the first episode where the altercation takes place, man, the police would have broken that shit up like 30 minutes before anything happened.
Well, that's on like any show though. Like my girlfriend was watching, we watched Vampire Diaries, and there's like 300 people at this. They're all teenagers in the woods. It's like nobody knows you're out there, or like at a big mansion, the parents are away, and there's 1,000 people there. Like it seems like every teenage show somehow there's this monster party with booze and no adults present or even older people present, and it never gets busted up.
Dilly. Another question for you. I don't mean to take over and start driving.
Oh, go ahead, Danny. What do you got?
I was thinking about, now that we know for sure that Nate, again, has a thing for Jules, and we know that his dad was with Jules earlier in the night. That's why the party was actually happening, because he was gone.
Oh, shit. That was the same night. I didn't even think about that.
Night. Good. I didn't realize that either, but yeah.
And the cheap hotel. But my other question is remember when he was texting her in the last episode, he said that he lived with his mom. I forgot. Does his mom actually even live there, or is it just he and his father?
Well, the only time it mentions his mom is he says something about he doesn't really like her because he thinks she's weak and like is easily pushed around.
We've never seen Nate's mom.
Well, no, we did briefly in the episode with Nate, the last episode, it showed them taking a family portrait. We saw his mom then, but like I said, only briefly. He's talking about my dad wants me to do this. He talks about his old younger brother, but then he says something about his mom. I don't like my mom. She's usually pushed around and not a very strong person, or something.
He doesn't have a very loving family environment.
No,
it's very business-like, very, very distant and cold.
You know who his dad reminds me of in a weird way? I mean, not because he doesn't have a military background, but he reminds me of the guy that killed Kevin Spacey in American Beauty, if you remember that from '99. The guy, he was like in the movie, gay, and then anyway, go ahead.
Right. That was that Chris Cooper, the actor who shot Kevin Spacey? I can't remember. I thought it was Chris Cooper, but Joe's got the shotgun out tonight. So Nate, I'm wondering if Nate is still. I mean, he's a violent person. We know he kicked the shit out of Tyler, then stole his identity, or he's using the name Tyler. How's he gonna explain it to Jules if they do meet in person that he's actually Nate and not Tyler? What do you think, Joe?
Well, honestly, I don't know how he's going to explain it. I think he's just going to show up and she's going to be aggressive, and then all of a sudden it's going to be like a kind of a hate fuck situation.
Yeah. That's the question. I mean, we're going to see for when they do finally meet in person. Let's talk about Rue and Jules and the scene between the two. When Rue kisses Jules, Jules didn't really get excited by it. Aaron, what do you think? Is Rue in the friend zone?
And I don't know necessarily if she's in the friend zone so much as I guess we could call it the friend zone, but obviously Rue didn't see it coming. And it was one of those weird situations where they were hugging, they had their foreheads touching, and I was like, kiss her, come on, Rue, or you can do, because I saw it coming like in the first episode, and I called it. And then she did kiss her, and it was just, it didn't go well, and then the rest of the episode was kind of a meltdown after that. But, it's one of those, friend zones, but I don't really think that obviously that she saw it coming at all. So it may not have been something that she's even considered, and it wouldn't surprise me if they do end up together within the next couple of episodes, especially if something, God forbid, happens with Nate. Something terrible, then Rue will be there for her. So
Rue's worried about it. She doesn't want her going to that lake by herself. Now, before Rue tries to kiss Jules, did she steal the pill of Jules' dad before she tried to kiss? I'm kind of unclear. I don't know. Do you remember?
I didn't notice. She did take a pill. I didn't retain what it was either.
Right.
But she obviously stole something. I just wanted to say quickly too that, and this is a different story altogether, but in 2012, Marilyn Manson grabbed my cock. No, it's true.
We have pics.
I got the pics. Yeah, the point, the same expression on my face of like, because you never expect like a guy to grab your cock, is the same. I had on my face is the same look that Jules had after Rue kisses her. Just a little stunned and like, I think she was completely not appalled, but not into it.
Right. Yeah.
So were you appalled? Or not appalled when he grabbed your
No,
cock?
it's a 20.
Little into it? It's okay.
I'm not into it, but it's a 27 by 40 in my house now. It's a huge blown up. It's a great story too.
Dude, I'd hang that shit up too, and that'd be something I'd brag about. Like,
I'm going to
see
my 16th concert next week, actually.
16th, outstanding, very cool, man.
Yeah, no shit. Anyway, back to Euphoria.
Right on. So after Rue runs away, she's embarrassed that she let her feelings show. It's a teen thing to do. She runs away. She relapses, and she goes to Fezco's place, who doesn't let her in. Joe, why do you think Fezco? Why do you think Fezco didn't let her in to buy drugs? Is he sad that he got her hooked on drugs? Maybe remorseful.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things, right? I think one, he's remorseful that he got her addicted, and two, I think maybe you guys feel the same way, but I kind of feel like he's got some feelings for Rue, like he likes her like more than just a friend. Mm-hmm. I get that vibe, and I think he's trying to protect her, and I honestly, that's just the vibe I get, that like he's trying to save her life, even if it means that she's got to shut him out. And let's for a second talk about the acting from Zendaya in that last scene.
Oh man, she was so good.
Yeah, if she doesn't get any awards for this, that's a crime.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, for
and
sure.
Jules
that was
too.
Rough.
Hunter Schafer's awesome, dude.
Mm-hmm.
She is excellent actor. They're all good actors. Even Nate, and Kat. Oh man, it's a fantastic cast.
Is spot on with their characters, and one of the things I said in one of the last episodes is I like how, other than Zendaya, I've never seen any of them before.
Yeah.
But they're all awesome, and you 100% buy into their characters because they're doing such a good job. And like I said, only what's this, episode 3 episodes in, you're bought in, and you're hooked, and you want to see what's going to happen with these characters.
So
I've got a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
With regards to that final scene, this is something I don't know the answer to. It's not rhetorical. It's a literal question.
Yeah.
When Fezco's like, I'm sorry, and she finally gives up. And then she calls Ali and says something like, well, what about those pancakes? The pancakes, is this a euphemism for drugs, or is Ali literally trying to help her out and take her to an IHOP and keep her off of drugs, or is he trying to exploit her to maybe sell her drugs? I'm not.
Great question.
It's not clear.
To be seen, to be determined.
Yeah.
But I think she's. What I thought was that she wants to meet him up. For a meal or coffee or breakfast or whatever, and then she's gonna try and get drugs from him. Just tell her.
His perspective. What do you think? Is his motive pure, or is he just trying to exploit her?
I don't know. I'm still in the dark about his character, what he's trying to do. Maybe he's attracted to Rue. I can't tell yet, but the actor is Coleman Domingo. You can see in Fear the Walking Dead.
Yep, yep, absolutely.
I recognize him immediately. He plays Strand, great character on Fear the Walking Dead, and he's a great actor. So I'm anxious to if he's rolled into this cast as a regular character, the show will take a step up in quality. With the acting, because that dude is really good. I'm anxious to see what Ali's all about, and I don't know, Dan. What do you think? You think Ali has some feelings? He was looking at her. Maybe he's just like a protective big brother, like Fezco, or I can't tell yet.
I feel like it could go either way, where he's just trying to call her in her shit because he can tell that she's clearly still using and going up and getting sympathy, or I could see him trying to use it as some oh, I want some young pussy, and try to exploit her for his own perverted gang. Because that seems to be what the show is showing that the older guys are taking advantage of the younger characters.
Yeah, great point. Joe, what do you think? Does Ali have ulterior motives?
Well, I actually had this conversation with my fiance last night after the show, and we both had differing opinions on it. She's like, she thought it was kind of, he's got ill will for Rue, like he's going to do something bad, maybe give her more drugs, or like you said, maybe on the sexual side of things. But the way he was looking at her during the meeting and the way he talked to her, I kind of took it like he really wanted to help her. Like, who are you shitting? Like, your sister almost watched you die. Put things in perspective for her. And I think he's going to lean on that and maybe help point her in the right direction of how to live her life. So that's kind of how I took it.
Do you think Ali could tell she was high at the meeting?
Yeah, I think he knew for sure. He was looking
at
her
so
the whole
too.
time.
Yeah, he said that. I think unequivocally. He said he made a reference to a billiards player or something. I didn't know who it was either. Rue was like, who the fuck is that? But he was, I'm the master of whatever. I forgot the analogy. But yeah, he was saying that he was calling her on her shit without any equivocation.
Yeah. Yep, basically said, don't bullshit a bullshitter, essentially is what he's coming at saying on that one.
Yeah, he knew.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it for this episode of Euphoria. Let's
don't forget the anime.
Oh wait, I forgot. We got to talk about the anime, and also there was interspliced in with this episode was the college party with McKay and Cassie.
Yeah.
And I had a little gag reflex when they shot swallowed the goldfish. They did goldfish shooters.
You bet.
I don't. I don't see any point in.
Out of all the things in the episode, Tooch, the goldfish is what gave you the gag reflex.
Yeah,
not the pay
a little
part.
bit, yeah. Besides the masturbation scene, was,
all right. Yeah, that was the part for me that gave me the gag reflex.
Like I said, though, after I watch the show, I've got a shower.
Fair.
Yeah. This is a show that makes you have to shower. Feel like you need a shower afterwards.
Is it bad? Is it bad, guys? That all I could think of is after they took the shot with the goldfish in it. I'm like, man, that's not going to be fun to shit out.
No.
What I thought was Cassie's breasts are so amazing that would have drunk the fucking thing too.
Oh my gosh.
Or a couple of fish, yeah.
I thought McKay was going to lose that beer chug contest too, man.
That's kind of where I thought it was.
Yeah, he got lucky. He was almost the Aaron Rodgers of the night. But
and guys, in regards to the
anime,
the animated scene, it's part of my news in 2 scoops or less. So let's transition to the next part. We'll that's my last bit on the news. We could have a conversation about it after then.
Yeah, let's do the news, Joe.
Yeah, let's jump into the news.
Right on.
If I could find the drop. Ba, 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 ba.
What? You look like Mary Poppins. Is he cool? Hell yeah, he's cool. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all! Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
It's entertainment news in 2 scoops or less.
Holy smokes!
That's right, everybody. This is the part of the show where I give you the entertainment news in 2 scoops or less. So coming up first here, a series based off of Neil Gaiman's Sandman is reportedly in the works from Netflix, with the Dark Knight screenwriter David S. Goyer attached to the project. There is no cast and no premiere date at this time, but that's pretty exciting stuff right there. That's going to be pretty amazing. If anyone hasn't read Sandman, that's some pretty impressive stuff by Neil Gaiman. Moving on with the next step here, you got comic Aziz Ansari has announced that he will drop a surprise Netflix special next week. His new stand-up routine will mark his first time back in the spotlight since last year's sexual misconduct allegations. Ansari plans to move on from the claims and step forward from them. The special drops on July 9th, so coming up next week. That's coming right around the corner. And the last thing I want to touch on, guys, and we'll have a little bit of a discussion on it, Euphoria last night had an anime sex scene between Harry Styles and Louis Tomlinson of One Direction. Apparently, Louis Tomlinson came out and said that they were not asked for permission and did not approve of the scene. So, gentlemen, let me ask you this. What do you think about that? I'm going to go ahead and toss it to Dan first.
I mentioned this to you before we went on. It made me think of the People versus Larry Flint, where we learned that, well, I knew this in college from Supreme Court cases too, but we learned that it's okay because they are a public figure. They cannot prove any malice. They can't be sued. HBO is in the clear and can do the satirical blowjob. What was it she said? When he started to give him the head, it made me laugh out loud. I was drinking, though. I can't remember exactly what she said. Like, the euphoric. No, that's a bad pun. What? He started blowing the other guy from One Direction. He was talking about just how tremendous it was and stuff. It was hilarious. But anyway, go ahead.
It was an on-stage blowjob between 2 members of One Direction, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes,
I mean, it was on stage, right? It was supposed to be.
Well, it was backstage. He was a little nervous.
Backstage. Okay, yeah. I thought I saw a crowd, but okay.
No, they were behind the curtains looking out, and the guy got nervous till the other guy came to comfort him. I think is what the whole thing was. So.
Clay Matthews and Aaron Rodgers did this all the time.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
It was a very interesting scene nonetheless.
The animation was great too.
It was great and bizarre.
Really nervous they were going to go a bit farther with that. I'm glad they didn't take it as far as I was really worried that they were going to. I ended up with the 69 at the end of it. But, I mean, going back to how they feel about it, you know, it's one thing I'm always interested to know that essentially you could call it a parody. And parodies covered under the First Amendment in the Constitution, so there's not a whole heck of a lot. And it's not even like it's them, it's their likeness in a sense. So I imagine that you can draw or animate somebody, and I don't know how much permission you have to get from them in that sense, especially if you're using it for a parody.
Well, the show has really taken the teen drama show and just turned it into almost surrealism. But I'm enjoying it nevertheless.
Let me give you one more reference, and I'll go. Yeah. Well, can go to Big Little Lies. Who knew that Marilyn Manson was so relevant to this episode? But it reminded me of this parody back in like it was Super Bowl 32, so it was January of '98 during the Broncos. Thank you, John. Oh, this one's for John. Beat the Packers. Fuck you, Brett Favre. But anyway, halftime, I switched off and went to MTV because I was still 16. They still showed videos, whatever. But they did a parody of animation. They used to have a show called Celebrity Deathmatch.
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah, dude.
Manson killed the Hanson brothers with a chainsaw. And the Hanson brothers were watching the show and didn't know about it as the story went, and allegedly broke down and cried in front of their dad.
Oh, my God.
Which is still the greatest things I've ever heard. So
hilarious.
We got the new kid on the block killed too. It made years ago, but I fucking hate them. I've always hated them.
Like the episode of Family Guy where they hopped out of the bus and Peter says, "Holy God, it's the children of the corn," and then like shoots him with a shotgun. I think it was.
Oh, well, Dan, thanks for coming on. I have a stream and recapping Euphoria. Hopefully you'll come back again, and we'll find out what happens in some of these later episodes of Euphoria.
My last confession is I had no idea how Bitcoin worked either. Where's
I don't think
who does?
Exactly.
All right, just focus. Thanks, Dan.
Have a good one.
Dan, thank you, sir.
All right. So Big Little Lies, Joe, which I have only gotten through half of season 1, so we'll talk half of season 1. But I gotta say, it's almost a second chance series for me, Joe, because I kind of gave up on it a little bit. The characters were a little too highbrow for me, even though they had even though they have their issues. But let's give the audience a little taste of Big Little Lies, Joe.
Let's do it.
Are you new to Monterey? Yeah, we just moved here. You're gonna love it.
Fashion is definitely not our problem.
Every time someone asks me about Ziggy's dad, I'm terrified they're gonna expose me. We don't want anyone getting hurt, do we? Bitch. Gotta have each other's backs, right? Who's got yours?
These women, they're vicious.
We all do bad things sometimes.
We all do bad things sometimes, Tooch.
Oh, man. So I got to tell you, I'm getting into it a little bit more now. I think I'm on episode 6 or 7. I don't know. The Fire Stick remembers where I'm at.
I'm sure it does.
But at first, I didn't really like the show. These people they're spoiled brats. They're fucking super wealthy. Monterey is beautiful, though. Boy, some of those houses are amazing. Let's talk about some of the characters. I mean, they're all so fucked up. Let's talk about the main character. I think is Madeline. What do you think, Joe?
I don't know if there's such thing as a main character in the show, but she's definitely one of the focal characters. Madeline's played by Reese Witherspoon.
Right. It's got a great cast.
The cast is unbelievable.
You've got unbelievable.
You've got Reese Witherspoon. You've got Shailene Woodley. You've got Nicole Kidman.
Yep.
You've got Laura Dern.
Yep.
Those are the main. You've got Zoe Kravitz.
Yep. Alexander Skarsgård,
who is fantastic in
he's
this show,
excellent
by the way.
in it. And there's other people we're missing. Of course, I think Meryl Streep joined the cast in season 2.
Yep, and I will say the highlight, and I've seen the entire series, as Tooch has not, but the standout performance in the show is hands down Nicole Kidman and Alexander Skarsgård. It's just unbelievable, man. They basically highlight, and it's not really a spoiler, they highlight an abusive relationship and the struggles of that. And
sure,
for me, man, it was just so well done by both of those two.
Now, I want to talk about it's Celeste. Is that her name?
Celeste, yes.
Celeste is
Nicole Kidman's character.
Okay. And she's married to Perry, who's played by Alexander Skarsgård. And Perry is bipolar. He has to be.
Absolutely.
He's alternately kind and alternately abusive.
Yes.
And he's very handsome. He's got great suits, great shoes. He must. I don't know what he does for a living, but he travels. 50% of the time, maybe. Maybe he's like international business or banking, something hedge fund, maybe. They don't say what he does, but their house is beautiful. And one thing is their closet, Joe. Perry and Celeste's closet. All their shoes are like on lighted stands. Like 100 pairs of shoes. Yeah. 100 pairs of shoes, and I'm like, this is a life I will never know.
It reminds me of Aaron's closet. Right, Aaron?
Yeah, not quite so many shoes, but all the Bears jerseys, man. I'm hoping to get just as many jerseys as they have shoes.
Nice, great answer. Some Doc Martens in there, maybe.
Maybe a few. Yep, not entirely sure. It's been a while since I looked at the shoe collection, but not that many.
He's got plenty of Mastodon stuff in his closet. He's good.
Right. At least 3 shirts. I'm sure more stuff than that. Absolutely.
So there's Madeline. She's married to Ed, who's played by Adam Scott, who he was the Step Brothers' brother. One of those. They're right? Step Brothers. He was in Step Brother. He was the successful brother. The other guy.
He was the douchebag.
The douchebag brother who the other brothers didn't get very far in life. They would interview for a job and fart. It smelled like ketchup and onions.
You gave me the perfect opportunity, and I missed it.
Oh, man.
All those waiting for that fart drop, too, Joe.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, 3 in a row. There you go.
Right. He's a good husband, but actually in the episode I just watched, Joe, it was revealed that Madeline had an affair with the director of her puppet play. And she's so hot to get...
Avenue Q.
Right, I don't know the actor's name. I've seen him before. But, yeah, and then he's still in love with Madeline. Madeline kind of, is over with him. I mean, I think. I don't know, but they go for a ride in the car, and both of them are in a terrible car accident. Madeline not really hurt, but his name's Joe, I think, right?
Yeah,
Joseph.
What a great name.
Right. He ends up getting hurt. They're both married, but they were cheating. And then this is the kind of show where couples' infidelities are revealed, one at a time. And
oh yeah,
I want to talk about Shailene Woodley's character, who is probably to me the most interesting character. She's not wealthy at all. She's a single mom who joined the Monterey Beach community. She doesn't live near the beach. Doesn't live on the ocean. She lives in a small bungalow with her son, who is the product of, I found out, a rape. Someone forced her down, and took advantage of her. It looked like she was at a wedding. In the recent episode, she tracks down the guy to make sure that she didn't want anything to do with them. Somehow she's got in her head she'd go down to San Luis Obispo and find the guy. Her son's mad that she never told him about his dad.
Right.
But to me, the biggest mystery of the show, Joe, is who's hurting Amabella. Do we don't tell me, but do we find out? Don't tell me who it is, but do we find out who's hurting Amabella? Because this is killing me.
You do find out, Aaron. You've watched the show, right?
Yep, I've watched bits and pieces, but my girlfriend's been watching it. So you do find that out, but also just wait, Tooch, until you find out who the father is of the kid.
Of Ziggy?
Yep, of Shileen's kid. You find out you do end up finding out who the father is, and that
it isn't the
crazy. You just have to wait and find out. I can't tell you anymore, man. But it blew me away.
She went to confront him or find out, like, anonymously, see whether he remembered her. And she drives down there, and I forgot what she did. She got in close and smelled him. And there was, like, she imagined shooting him. And then she runs out. I don't know whether she took something or whatever.
She dropped
her
bag.
purse, right?
Yeah, and I thought he saw her gun or something like that.
Okay, and then it made it look like a shot was fired when she dropped her bag. But we don't know. They don't say whether or not, the round discharged. But the guy probably shit his pants too. That's where I'm at in the show so far. I'm enjoying it, Joe. How about, would you recommend the show to listeners if I have a stream?
Oh man, I highly recommend the show, especially, and Aaron knows this. It pays off in the final couple episodes.
Okay.
And then especially heading into season 2, which is just absolutely explosive.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to talk to you about that, and I know Aaron's probably caught bits and pieces of season 2 as well.
Yeah.
I should be caught up, I think, after this holiday weekend. I'll have some time off of work. I don't know for sure because I haven't gotten that far yet, but it seems to me like from trailers and previews that Perry dies somehow accidentally. I don't know yet, and I don't know. I'm dying to find out who's hurting Amabella. Amabella is the daughter of Laura Dern's character Renata.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And the first few episodes they make Renata seem like a bitch. You know? And I don't think she is as big a bitch as, she's definitely a strong personality. But she's very concerned for Amabella. She's pissed off. If I was a parent, I'd be pissed off too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, somebody strangled her daughter, tried to strangle her or hurt her. Somebody's biting her at school. They're bullying her. The poor little girl's 6 years old. She seems like the most miserable, sad kid, in Monterey. So,
right.
And then, of course,
I can't wait for you to see the ending, dude.
I know it's so tough because it's like I love shows like this, and it's also one of my favorite authors, Dean Koontz. I love stories that are like, what the hell? Why are we talking to them? Now we're talking about them. Now we're talking about them, and then they slowly kind of come in. You kind of see how their characters are all interwoven in between each other. Then it all comes to this boiling point where it's like, oh, this is what they were building to.
Yeah,
I'm super excited.
Liane Moriarty. Yeah, Liane Moriarty was the author. Very, very much follows the Dean Koontz kind of formula, but with a very twisty kind of catty universe, and it just gets crazier as we go on. And
now, see,
I can't wait.
There's a Greek chorus, in this show, and it's peripheral characters or teachers and other mothers, a principal. They're kind of like the last episode, like Jane. She was totally crazy. Jane is Shailene Woodley's character. Mm-hmm. Jane definitely has some issues. She imagines herself murdering people. She jogs and tries to like jump off a cliff. She constantly is lost in her thoughts. Dangerously lost in her thoughts. I'm wondering what's going to happen there. I'm enjoying the show. Both of you guys are going to recommend the show to listeners, correct?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's one of those that I've caught bits and pieces of, but the bits and pieces I've caught are really interesting. And if we're going to continue to talk about it on I Have a Stream, I might actually go through and watch this to catch up and see the smaller details so we can discuss a little bit more.
Well, my sultry neighbor is dying to recap this. She was unavailable tonight to drop by the bar room, but so we're definitely going to be talking about this one again. But before we go, Joe, both of you guys, give us a little bit of what else you're watching on streaming. Joe, go ahead. What did you watch lately? One thing you can recommend.
Well, I'm gonna do a 1 and a 1A.
Mm-hmm.
So the 1A I haven't started watching yet, but I will be watching soon. But number 1, there's this new show on ABC, which is on Hulu. It's called Holy Moly. It's a mini golf competition, but it's like mini golf mixed up with like Wipeout, with like obstacle courses. So you've got Rob Riddle is one of the commentators.
God.
And then you've got Stephen Curry, who is like one of the producers on it, who plays a role on the show. The show is absolutely ridiculous, and it's such a fun time. If you want to go on Hulu and look up Holy Moly, you will not be disappointed. I'm telling you right now.
It's a game show?
It's a game show, television show, kind of Wipeout kind of thing.
All right.
Yeah, Zim knows what I'm talking about. Steve Zimmerman in this chat room is saying Holy Moly is fantastic. He says he hates how much he loves it.
Zim's going to have to come on TV confessional, Joe.
Yeah, we'll have to have Zim on. But
real quick, talking about that, you guys were talking about, and that's one of my favorite things anytime anybody brings him up. Did you know Rob Riggle was like special forces, like super special forces, like crazy trained military operations?
Yeah, I remember he was a military guy. I remember that he was like a sergeant or something.
Yeah, it was like
Captain
special
or sergeant.
Forces, super badass. From what I understand, from everything I've read about him, but like just that big, lovable goofball was like just an absolute beast, evidently in the military.
Well, he's funny on Fox 32 Sundays before the NFL games. Very funny. Of course,
he's hysterical.
He got his dick shot off in the 21 Jump Street reboot with
That's
Channing
right.
Tatum and Jonah Hill. And,
yeah, he did.
while we're talking dicks, Joe.
Yeah, we might as well. But
Recently I watched a movie that just came out on Netflix. It's called All the Devil's Men. Don't know if you had heard about it, but it stars Mel Gibson's son, who looks a lot like him. He was in Hacksaw Ridge, directed by his dad. And All the Devil's Men is a story about CIA black ops. And Mel Gibson's kid is like one of the best of the best. And he's brought in to track down a former Afghan black ops guy who's trying to buy a nuclear warhead from Russians. And I gotta say, it wasn't bad for a Netflix film. Now he's going to be starring in a movie called The Outpost about a small team of U.S. soldiers battling against hundreds of Taliban fighters in Afghanistan. That's going to be with Orlando Bloom. Scott Eastwood is Clint Eastwood's son. Of course, Milo Bloom, like I said, Caleb Landry Jones, or Milo Gibson, sorry. And that'll be out next year, I think. That's called The Outpost. And the movie I just watched was called All the Devil's Men with Mel Gibson's kid, Milo. And it wasn't bad, man, if you like some double crosses and suspense and spy thrillers and a lot of gunplay. It wasn't bad, man. It was a decent show. A lot of double crosses. And that's the end of the show. Joe, Aaron, thanks.
Aaron, what are you watching, man?
Oh, didn't you? I'm sorry, Aaron. I thought you were.
No, you're good. That's all right. That's fine. I forgot to pour Dan a drink earlier, so we're good here. I don't have a show. My girlfriend and I are still watching Outlander, but actually this weekend I caught classic, one of my favorite movies when I was a kid, Dante's Peak, with Brosnan. I actually got to watch that this weekend. That was a pretty good one. I'm looking for a new show to start. You guys have given me a couple of different ideas.
I think I got a new one for you, Aaron. I was going to mention this as well. Coming out on the 4th of July, we've got Stranger Things Season 3.
Man, how did we miss that? That's right. Stranger Things 3 starts July 4th, right, Joe?
Yeah, man, and you know we'll be talking about it. I don't know if we'll be ready to talk about it next week, but once we get through that series, we'll be talking about it very soon.
Yeah.
Which is good, because then David Harbour can maybe make a little bit more ground off of the god-awful Hellboy. I don't know if you guys talked about it or saw, but it was not good, man.
Man, the Guillermo del Toro ones were so much better, dude.
So much better. Those ones were classics. This is gonna be the X-Men Origins Wolverine of the Hellboy. We're just gonna pretend it never happened. Like, this one was just terrible.
Nice.
It was.
Well, all right, fellas. Thanks again for being here, Aaron and Joe, and we'd like to thank Dan Aguire, our guest. Bears fan Dan. Aaron, follow Aaron on Twitter at Michalski88, Michalski88 on Twitter.
Boy, yes, sir.
Follow Joe at Joe Mandel on Twitter.
That's right. It's real easy. At Joe Mandel.
Follow me at Santucci_John. And follow I Have a Stream on Twitter at I Have a Stream Pod. Follow Bears Barroom at Bears Barroom. And that's about it. Joe, we'll see you next week. And how about taking us out with a little television?
Absolutely. See all you barflies next time.